Welcome to Jamie TV and thank you very much for tuning in. It seems like there's no shortage of fantastic new music production software being released all the time, but when you've been making music with software for a few years, it does tend to feel like you've seen a lot of it before. And in a way there's nothing wrong with that, because constant reinvention of old ideas does mean that the software is just getting better and better. But what's really exciting is when you get your hands on a piece of software that's not like anything you've seen before. And for me, FAC Medusa is exactly that. It is a compressor, and a really good compressor, but it also has some other features that make some very interesting tone shaping possibilities possible. Great sentence. Anyway, people have already made videos about this software showing you all the features and how it works, so I thought what I'll do is I'll show you some very real use cases for it, and maybe that'll be helpful to someone who's just bought it and help you get going with it, or maybe if you're teetering on the buy button, it'll help you to make that decision. Okay, so let's have a look at some drums. Here's a before and after Medusa. I wanted to apply an instance of Medusa to each individual component part of the drum kit, so I went here and clicked here to add extra output buses to Digistix 2. I removed the bottom two tracks as they are for Digistix 2's effects outputs, which I won't be using. Then, in 4 pockets as awesome drum app for each drum pad in turn, I selected options and chose an output bus for each. With that done, we can see that in Cubasis 3, although all the MIDI remains on track 1, each drum has its own channel. I was then able to go to Insert Effects on each drum bus and add an instance of Medusa and dial in a sound I wanted for that drum. For me, the preamp section of Medusa comes into its own with drums. The ability to choose a crossover frequency between the low and mid band of the preamp and between the mids and highs, and then cut and boost those bands, makes it very easy to make that drum sit nicely in the mix. For instance, with this kick, I've split my frequencies so that in the low band I have the thump, what I call the knock of the kick in the middle, and the high frequency I call the click. I've added saturation to the mid band but left the low band clean, because saturating the lows of a kick can mean that they get lost in the mix. I've blended these bands for now, but as I work on my track further, I can revisit these settings to make sure the kick is still cutting through. Hear what happens now when I take up the range of the compressor. And let's have a listen to what happens when I change the slope of the crossover filters. Now here I have the compressor settings applied to each separate band. When I press here, those settings will be applied to the sum of those 3 bands. I wanted to create some movement in this Bliss Megalith preset using Medusa's sidechain function. So I switched the sidechain function on here in Medusa and here in Cubasis 3, where it then asks me which channel are we receiving sidechain input from. I selected my tambourine channel because I'm not actually using the tambourine in this project. I kept the fader for the tambourine down so that we won't hear it, so I'm just using that channel to send MIDI to the instance of Medusa on the aforementioned Megalith channel to make it do stuff. The compression settings in Medusa are now inactive and just kick in when a MIDI note is received from the tambourine channel. Playing with the wet and dry controls in Medusa, I can alter how subtle, or not, I want this effect to be. I experimented with a couple of patterns of MIDI notes, but settled on this very simple one, just to duck the megalith preset every time I play the hanging note at the end of my guitar riff. Let me just show you how we set up the sidechain in AUM, because it's quite different from Cubasis 3. In this little project, I've got Rosetta sending some notes to megalith, and I've got Medusa in effect slot 1 ready to affect megalith, but it's not doing anything yet, it's just in its initialized setting. Over here, I've got Sidekick playing a 4 on the floor. But we don't necessarily need to hear Sidekick, all we need is something that just produces some kind of pulse. Now in this effect slot here underneath Sidekick, I'm going to go to Multibus Audio Unit Instances and add Medusa. Now every time this instance of Medusa picks up a kick from Sidekick, it will inform Medusa over here, and this instance of Medusa will affect megalith, but it's not doing anything yet because we need to go into Medusa, activate the sidechain, increase the ratio and pull down the threshold. Now hear what happens if I increase the release time. Of course, what we can also do is go over to Sidekick and change where the kicks happen. And if we want to, we could always bring Sidekick into the mix. I want to set my guitar up with a multi-output instance of Medusa. This is my guitar coming into AUM, so I go here to the effect slot, audio unit extensions, and I need to select the multi-out version of Medusa. Then I'm going to need to add 3 more audio tracks. Then in each of these effect slots, I go to Multibus Audio Unit Instances and select Medusa. Notice how these are numbered. What's going to happen is the low frequencies from Medusa are going to come out to this track, mids to this track, and highs to this track. So we don't actually need this track at all. We can just pull it down or mute it off or both. So now, as well as all those advantages that we're going to experience by having these different bands of Medusa coming out to these different faders, I can also add different effects to the different bands and then do something like this with my guitar. Couple of last little things that really impressed me about Medusa. Number one, it seems to be impossible to resize it in a way that it doesn't kind of just adjust itself and remain really cool looking and not screw you over. It may seem like a little thing, but I think it shows incredible attention to detail on the part of the developer. Also, if you are, let's say you've mixed your bands and you really like the mix that you have, but you want everything a little louder or a little quieter, you can press and hold on any one of these pots and they all move equally together. And this also applies to the wet and dry. Thank you very much for watching. There's no amazing conclusion to this video or anything. Obviously you can already tell that I think that Medusa is awesome, and as I release this video it's about to go on sale. It will be on sale from Black Friday through to Cyber Monday. So unfortunately, if you don't have this app yet and you're watching from a little way into the future, you will have missed out on that sale. So my apologies, but at least it's reassuring to know that the planet does have a future. If you thought this video sucked, then please do take the time to give me a thumb down and tell me in the comments below the video just what a stupid old hippie you think I am. On the other hand, if you thought it was good, then please feel free to tell me that you think I'm wonderful. If it was helpful, if this free content was helpful to you, then there are lots of links below the video where you can help out the channel if you'd like to, and links where you can check out my website, my music, my Patreon account, merchandise, and all that good stuff. So anyway, until my next video, take care of yourselves, be good people, be kind, make lots of music, and don't piss your pants about. See you later.